Hey everyone, so I'm back. This is part 2 of our steak video. It's been in the oven. It's been just a little bit over 20 minutes. So let's pull that out, okay? Let's check our steak. Let's see how it turns out. Don't forget safety first. Use an oven mitt or a pot holder. Let's take it out here. Let's close up our stove so we won't burn ourselves. Always remember, open the lid away from you, so if there's any steam, it doesn't burn your face. All right, so what do you guys think? How does that look to you guys? Looks okay, right? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press. I washed my fork in between shoots. Press it. There's some juice that's coming out. The potatoes and the mushrooms look pretty good. I'm going to turn it over. That looks good on that side right here. Just kind of sort of twist it. I'm doing this with one hand because I can't use both hands. But look, there's no red. All right, so that's good for me. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take our steak off of the pan and we're going to put it onto a cutting board. All right, and we're going to let it sit for a few minutes. The reason why you do this is because you want all the juices in the steak to kind of sort of just settle. All right, so that's the cutting board that I was using when I was seasoning the steak. I washed it. You don't want to put a cooked steak onto the cutting board where you were preparing the raw steak, so I was washed that. So hopefully I had a camera shot of that, right? Okay, so there you go. So we're just going to let it sit for a couple minutes. Now I am over here with the second cutting board. What I'm going to do, let's cover our potatoes and mushrooms so that they don't get too cold too quickly because they are vegetables. All right, and then let's turn off our oven. There we go. Now, I've already started with the avocados. I've already sliced them, but I'm going to show you guys what to do, okay? If you guys do not know how to make guacamole, all right? So, there we go. That's a good camera angle. Flip that over there. All right. Let's move this a little bit closer here. So this is one trick that I learned, okay? You guys can use the knife. You can see this knife is kind of dirty. I washed it over the 20-minute break as well so that I can start chopping vegetables. But there were times when I first started learning how to cut avocados, I would cut myself. I learned a trick. You use a butter knife, all right? Avocado skin is that soft where it can cut into the avocado skin. Okay, and then you twist it so it comes apart. The big thing is the pit. I'm sure you've seen on cooking shows, people get their knife and they go like that. However, you can use a spoon, all right? A big spoon, a tablespoon, and just kind of sort of slide it into the avocado. It doesn't always work properly. There we go. Because a lot of times what happens is that I don't like is when you're trying to use a spoon, there's a lot of avocado left on the pit, but that one's good. So I'm going to toss that over to the sink, get it out of the way. And then the next thing you can do, if you have a knife that looks like this, you can use the back side of the knife to slice it, all right? Don't touch the blade, obviously, because a lot of people would like to use the blade and they end up cutting through the skin and cutting their hand, all right? So you're just going to flip the knife around. And then you're just going to kind of sort of cut slices and then slide it out of the peel, okay? Just like that. All right, now let's get rid of the peel. Or you can also use your butter knife. Because if the butter knife cuts through the skin of the avocado, it's not going to hurt you either, okay? And then just kind of sort of use the butter knife to slide it out. Now I have to apologize, guys, because earlier I said I was ready with everything that I needed this time. Didn't have to make you guys wait, but I just realized I don't have my guacamole masher. So I'm going to come over here to this cabinet where I have some other things put away. And I'm going to, here we are, my guacamole mashed potato masher. Here we go. And there's my doggy Gus. Say hi, Gus. Say hi, buddy. See, he wants my attention right now. I can't pet you guys, and I'm gonna have to like wash my hands. Okay? I will in a little bit. I promise. All right, guys. So let's come back over here to our avocados. Far back enough. Okay, I'll show you guys in a little bit. All right. So we're gonna put everything down, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some onion. So I have a slice of onion. All right. So we're going to dice onion and see how much this is actually going to be. Actually, let's do this first. This is going to be a lot quicker. Get a clove of garlic for the guacamole. All right, you smash it down, and then we're just going to peel the skin off of the garlic clove. Okay, and then smash it a little bit more. There we go. There we go. Now we can dice it. Okay, so you want to try to mince it as much as possible. Try to get it into tiny, tiny, tiny pieces. And I have countertops that are tile, really big, old, Spanish-looking tile. So a lot of times my cutting board rocks back and forth when I try to do something with it. So I have to hold the cutting board down. But you just want to chop it as much as you can to try to get as much of the flavor out of the garlic clove, okay? I suggest only using one garlic clove, because if you use more than one, then your guacamole is going to taste nothing but garlic. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put that in there. All right. Now with the onion, you kind of sort of have to play with it and figure out how strong your onion is that you buy at the store, how much you actually want. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to dice this whole onion. See how much noise that makes, guys? So I'm sorry if it's like bleeding your ears while I'm chopping this, but you also want to try to chop this as much as possible. So I'm going to move all these utensils off the cutting board so that way it does not make that much noise as I do this, okay? So this is the only part that sucks, is that I have to use one hand to hold the cutting board down because my countertops are tile with really big gaps in it. Okay. So again, you know, decide what kind of onion, like how much onion you want, because you also, just kind of like the garlic, you don't want to use more than you need. You don't want your guacamole to taste nothing like onion, like only onion, I should say. All right, so you just dice it as best you can when you're using one hand, because the other hand is holding down the cutting board. Okay, so I'm probably going to use this whole thing right here, okay? So let's pour that in. Probably not. That looks like it's going to be a little bit too much. A couple more dices. Okay, so let's throw all that in there. All right, so we'll push this over all to the side. And if you're the kind of person like I am, if you start crying when you're chopping onion, because the onion is just so strong, I've heard that a really good trick is to chew gum at the same time while you are chopping the onion, okay? So now we're going to get green onion. I really like using green onion in guacamole. Don't forget to cut the ends, because the green onion just kind of sort of gives it a really good flavor. Here we go. Okay. So when you start chopping green onion, you want to try to chop it starting from the stems, okay? Because if you try chopping it from this side, you see how it's all uneven and everything. So you want to chop it from the stems. Let me see if I can see if you guys can see that. Let me push the phone back just a tiny bit. It might help get a little bit better of an angle. There we go. And then you just kind of sort of rock your knife. But you have to make sure that you cut all the way through, because sometimes, like whenever I would go somewhere to eat menudo or pozole, and they would serve you the cebolla verde, the green onion, so you can put in your menudo, it's not always cut, and you get this really long string of green onion that looks like it's cut, but it's not cut. Okay. So with the same thing, you want to see kind of sort of like this, right? I've already cut it, but I have to pull it apart. There we go. So the same thing, and like this, right? Didn't cut all the way through, but you can see that it was attempted to be cut. Yeah, teacher over here, huh guys? Okay, so I'm just gonna try to dice that a little bit better. There we go. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did with the onion. We're just going to rock our knife. Now, with the green onion, it's okay if you don't chop it or dice it as fine as you normally would. It's okay if, there are going to be chunks of, not big chunks, but, chunks nonetheless of green onion in your guacamole. The guacamole is something that I have wanted to make for a really long time, like learn how to make. And so when we went on lockdown, I guess I should say, after we didn't go back to school last year, there was some things that I decided, well, you know what, now that we're not doing anything, I'm going to try to learn how to make some stuff. And guacamole was one of them. So then I'm going to go ahead and grab the green onion, and I'm going to put it all into my guacamole. There we go, or with the avocados before we make it into guacamole. And then next up is cilantro. Cilantro is really good, guys. Very healthy, really good for you. You can use the stems of the cilantro. Okay, there's a lot of flavor in there, and you just start chopping away. Again, sorry for the noise. While you're rocking your knife, you want to be careful with your fingers, but you want to push whatever vegetable you're cutting or dicing into the blade of the knife, okay? You kind of sort of want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to use one hand because this is really annoying me. Okay, here we go. Now, a lot of times people will use a chef knife, one of those really big long ones, and it has a curve on it. So you can rock the knife a little bit better, but I like using a little bit smaller knife. I just feel like I have more control when I use a smaller knife. All right. Now, some people like to put lemon in their avocado, just not lemon, but lemon juice. I don't have any lemon, or I would squeeze a little bit of lemon juice into it. The reason why you want to do that, not only for flavor, but it will make the guacamole last a little bit longer, because guacamole you have to eat within a couple of days or it's going to go bad, and it's going to go bad really fast, especially since you have already cut and peeled the avocados. Okay, so that looks like it's good enough there, the cilantro. We're going to put all of that in. You can use your knife to kind of sort of scrape up whatever it is that you just chopped and diced. Always be careful, you don't want to cut yourself. Okay. Now, there is something else that I like to add to my guacamole. I will show you guys what that is. I know you guys can see the pepino over here, the cucumber, but that's not it. All right. I'm going to grab my phone mounted on my tripod. I like to use cherry tomatoes. All right. So we're going to, let me show you what to do with the cherry tomatoes. If I can, this thing is always tricky to open. Can never really open. There we go. All right, I got it. So we're going to get some cherry tomatoes, okay? Now, the thing with cherry tomatoes that sucks is that you really want to sit here and cut them individually. You can. It is time consuming, but I'm going to show you guys a trick. All right? Kind of sort of move all this out of the way here for a little bit. Put my knife down. You're going to want to get a plate. All right? You put it upside down. And you see the ring of the plate, right? Or the base of the plate. Move my phone just a little bit. There we go. So then what you're going to want to do If you're cutting vegetables in half, or even different types of fruit like grapes, you're going to want to put it in the center of the base of the plate, the ring of the plate. And then you're going to want to get another plate. Now what you're going to do is you're going to want to line up the two bases of the plate, okay? And then if you have a knife like this, a really long knife with ridges for the blade, you're going to want to use that to cut your cherry tomatoes or your grapes or strawberries or whatever it is that you'd like to cut in half, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to press down firmly on the plate, but you're not going to press down too hard because you don't want to smash whatever it is you are cutting. And then you get your blade, and then you just come and you just go in a sawing motion. You want to make sure the plates don't move on you, because then everything's going to fall off. There we go. All right, so let's see how our cherry tomatoes came out. That looks like they pretty much cut in pretty good half. So yeah, so there you go, guys. All right, so that's one trick that you can use. And then you can cut them again in half if you want, the halves into halves. If you want to cut, this half into another half, but then you would have to do that individually. Okay, so I'm just going to put that into my guacamole. Let's go ahead and put all of the juice and the seeds back into there. All right, so now let me move all of this stuff out of the way so that I can show you what else to include into the guacamole. We're done with our butter knives, and that fell on the counter, so I can move that over to the sink and get rid of it. Okay, so let's put this into the frame, into the shot. So let me show you what this looks like. All right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to add some salt. You don't want to add too much salt, obviously, because it can be very salty, but give it a good sprinkle. You want to add a little bit of pepper also. And then I like to add oregano to my mixture. So I'm going to add oregano. And then we're going to add garlic powder. Even though we already have garlic and onion in there, you still want to give it like a good little sprinkle of garlic and onion powder. There we go. And then we start to mash it up. All right, guys. So then we get our masher, and then we just go to town on it. Now you don't want to go too fast, obviously, depending on how big or what kind of container you're doing it in. But you want to break down the avocados. You can also dice the avocados before you put them in the container if that's going to make it a little bit easier for you to mash up. But I just go ahead and cut it into slices. And I like, when I'm mashing everything up, I just kind of sort of like to turn my masher, give it, an even better mash. All right. So there we go. And it'll also mash the tomatoes, so all the juice of the tomatoes can get all mixed in with your guacamole. So that smells really good. I hope you guys can smell it through your computer screens or your phones, your phone screen. And just give it a good mash. I suggest you don't want to mash it forever, because then it's going to look like it's whipped, like a whipped cream guacamole instead of guacamole, right? So there we go. All right, so I hope that looks good to you guys. Voila. Now let's give this a try. All right, I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna grab my favorite tortilla chips. These are my favorite tortilla chips that I buy at the store. You can get them at Fry's. I like the white bag. They also sell a yellow bag, but the yellow bag is really, really salty, so I stay away from the yellow bag. All right, so then let's open this up. Let's give our guacamole a try. Never done this before on video for you guys, so let's give it a try. There we go. It's not bad. I am, however, going to add a little bit more oregano. and just a little bit more salt. And I'm also going to add some more garlic powder and more onion powder. Okay? So this is a good thing about spices, is that when you taste it to see how good it is, making salsa or you're making something like guacamole, you kind of sort of can add more if you need more, okay? And then all you do is just going to go ahead and continue to mash it up so you can mix everything in. And kind of sort of scrape it, and kind of just go back and forth with it. All right, so our steak looks like it's... I didn't explain the steak, did I? When you put the steak on a different type of cutting board or put it off the pan before you actually serve it, the juices in the steak are going to circulate throughout the steak, and they're going to settle too. So because you just took it out of the pan, so it's not going to taste really juicy or really greasy or whatever, you know. You're not going to have a bunch of steak juice dripping down your chin. All right, so let's try this again. Okay, that's a little better. We'll leave it like that. All right, so now it's time to go ahead and plate our steak. All right, so let's give that a try here. I am going to reach into my cabinet. I'm going to pull out a spoon, spatula. There we go. All right, so we'll pull out the spoon. I'm going to grab a plate, put it over here to the side. Just have a handy dandy fork. There we go. Put that on the side here. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to grab a spoon, grab some of my guacamole, place it on the side here. There we go. Then I'm going to come over here back to my stove. I'm going to remove the lid here. Oh, look at that. You see all the potatoes and the onions and the mushrooms all really juicy, all really sauteed. So then we're just going to grab a scoop, right? And then we're just going to add it to the plate right there. Okay? All right. And there we go, guys. Steak, potatoes, mushrooms, and guacamole. Now, I know that you guys saw the cucumber over here. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save that for a later time because this is enough food right here. Okay? Obviously, I'm not going to eat the entire steak, even though I probably can, but I shouldn't. Okay? So, there you go. Steak with guacamole, potatoes, and mushrooms. Buen provecho, guys. I hope you enjoy. I hope I was able to show you guys something more and you learned something new. Okay? So, I will see you guys in class. Peace out. I hope you guys had a good weekend. All right. Bye.